Good afternoon. My name is Kadeem May Sr. and I'm at Grand Canyon University, currently pursuing my master's. The first question I'm going to address today is, what disposition do you possess that make you a successful teacher? In my opinion, and based on teaching, one of the things that make me successful as a teacher is I get to know my students. First thing I may do is give them an assignment to see where their reading skills are, to see what areas I can help them with. Okay? Once I get that assessment, the next thing I usually do is, according to how the students did on the assessment, I may put them in groups and have them work together to improve their skills. The most important thing, though, is that no matter what, you have to always remember that all students can learn no matter what the situation is. Some students are auditory learners and some students are visual learners. So if you realize that most of your class are visual learners, you may have a PowerPoint presentation or a video presentation in your lesson, and reinforce it by speaking about it so that they can hear it auditory as well as visually seeing it. So again, all students can learn, and your job as a teacher is to make sure that you are giving them the tools they need to learn. The next question I'm going to address is, what disposition do you need to work and grow as an educator? For me, I find that getting involved in the community and maybe bringing a former student who went to the school that you taught and encouraging your students that, hey, they may have went to the same school with you. However, they're now a successful attorney. Or, they have accomplished something in the community. They have their own business. So this is how I would get involved, how I need to grow in the community as an educator, by letting the students see that former students have been successful. Maybe some of your own past students who went to school, who you actually taught, you can have them come back and share their experience with the class. So that's a good way to, as a teacher, to get involved in the community. Next, and my last question is, what does a professional educator look like, and how do you behave? What standards guide their thinking and action? Now, for me, a professional educator surely should look like me. You should be professional at all times in the classroom, not just when you're teaching, but you have to set a certain expectation to your students, as well as, in my case, I live in the same town with most of my students live in. I live in the same district where I work, and most of my students also live in the same district. So you have to set an example. You never know who you might run into. So you have to have the same standards in the classroom, being professional at all times, because you may run into your students. And most of the time, students emulate what they see. If you are not setting an example as an educator or a student, they may look at you differently. For example, I've had students that wanted to go into teaching because of how I taught in the classroom and how I worked with them. Recently, I have a senior currently that I taught creative writing, and she asked me, she said, I really want to go to college and I want to do creative writing because of you. And it made me feel good that I set such a standard and such an example that she wants to walk in my shoe and be a teacher one day. So again, as a professional educator, you should not just look professional in the classroom, but your conduct in your community where you live should reflect you as a teacher. And the standards and guide and thinking actions should be that you should be prepared at all times. prepared for any situation. You just never know who you may run into. And that's the end of my presentation.